Hello and welcome to another Let's Play. Me, GamerWolfSix of Interea. Before we start, if you're interested in playing this game, it's on itch.io for free. And if you want to support the people that make this game, you can go to their Patreon. So, on the last Let's Play, Amicus and... what is his name? I think it's Magus did a match of Perngu, which Magnus decisively won, though it seemed like it was a relatively normal kind of match, and that did hurt a bit of Amicus's pride, and also made him worry that he embarrassed me, because, Wolven culture and all that stuff. And, we kind of smoothed it over, and now we're here at the villa. And now to reset my face. And start. The villa is surprisingly lavish. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but after seeing the somewhat barren streets of Lux, I assumed it would be less decked out than the palace in Nadastra City. Wow, this is really nice. It is. Amka seems taken aback as I am. Haven't you been here before? This is where you stay when you're in Lux, right? Amika seems embarrassed. Actually, I've never stayed here myself. This is my first visit to Lux as Emperor. My previous visits in my youth never lasted longer than a day. Cassius is likely familiar with this place, though. I turn my attention back to the villa. It's decorated and furnished to an extent that's even more extravagant than the palace. Though, to be fair, the palace isn't all that extravagant, and that was intentional. Its barren, utilitarian design is meant to appear, at least somewhat approachable to the common wolf, even though I don't think the common wolf ever goes there, right? I mean, we only met, like, Amicus, Cato, Cassius, Alexos, Virginia, and Neferu, I believe, and the doctor. We go about settling in, and Amicus raids the pantry and the kitchen and returns with a bottle of wine and a smaller bottle of what I assume is Virdi? I guess that's a different wine or something, or type of something. It's a drink made mostly with the juice of a cucumber-like fruit, and Amicus knows it's my favorite drink on Dastra, though its pink hue tells me that it's a flavor I haven't tried before. We settle on our reclining couches, which I notice are made with gold trim and polished wood. Your grandfather Vitus, right? Amicus seems to perk up immediately. Oh yes, Vitus, you've learned of him? I hold back a wince, forgetting that I hadn't told Amicus about how far I got in Dastra, a history quite yet. I quickly move on, so he doesn't dwell on it. What was the Vitus? The couches or the little villa? Just a little bit. Just remember that he ended up getting rid of most of the expensive stuff owned by the family and gave it to the people, or something. He did. About a century ago, the palace had far more decorations and murals. It was a very important step towards the Imperial's family's relationship with the people. Amicus swigs from his bottle, and I do the same with mine. I can tell that the pinkish color of the liquid is probably from flower petals, since the drink has a distinct floral taste about it. Even though it makes me think of walking through a perfume cloud with my mouth open, the chilled drink is still refreshing, as long as that imagery isn't in my mind. Well, I guess I would have thought that might be the case for the villas too, especially in a region as poor as Lux. They don't have much wealth here, right? Well, the mines and factories are prosperous enough. The issue is how the wealth is distributed to the people. Yep. Unfortunately, the people of Lux seem intent on voting for the most extreme politicians, who then tend to be the most corrupt. It's a self-inflicted misery, unfortunately. I instinctively blanch at his reasoning, but I don't want to get into another argument. Amicus had seen my reaction well enough, though. I should not have to tell you once again that you can speak freely with me, Dark. I know that, but lately I've been feeling more and more like I don't know what I'm talking about. I know, but I need to remember that Adastra is an Earth, and sometimes it feels like it isn't my place. But it is. I want a human perspective. Well, just remember, it's only my perspective. Alright. And I think that when you say it's self-inflicted, it feels like you're just blaming the situation that isn't really their fault. Them for the situation that isn't really their fault. Yes, I understand that. But what I said is mostly out of frustration. It's difficult to sway these people, and at times I'm at a loss for what to do about the Lux problem. Well, make sure you stop calling it the Lux problem, first of all. I never do say that out loud to anyone else, of course. But someone might hear you. You both know there can be ears anywhere. I suppose you're right, but that doesn't fix the actual issue. Have you tried building a better relationship with Lux? Of course, but like I said, the funds we send them end up in the pockets that we cannot trace. Attempts to regulate or even withhold funds end in riots. Attempts to purge unqualified politicians from the ballots end up in riots. Really, any attempts to make Lux resemble civilized Adastran City ends in riots that do not end until Adastra gives in to their demands. Tell me, what the hell am I supposed to do to make them... What was that? Sorry, I thought I heard somebody knock at my door. There's just lots of things going on. Let me just check. I don't have a message on my phone. Nope, not that kind of message. It is what it is. Anyways, what the hell am I supposed to do to make them understand that Adastra simply wants the best for them? Amicus's frustration is palpable, but despite his annoyed and growling tone, I know it's not directed at me. Another reason I don't feel qualified to judge or tell him what to do is because I know he spends most of his time thinking about things that I can only chime in on, which I imagine is a bit irritating. Hey, you can see the little vein in his head right there. But he seems to be genuinely seeking my advice, so I try to. From what I understand, a lot of the problems in Lux come from its isolation, right? I would say so, yes. Oh, and I think a few centuries back, an emperor tried to, calm the rebellious spirits of Lexians by importing large amounts of hard liquor into the city, which I can't imagine had a good effect on the people. I do not recall that policy. Did Calm tell you that? I remember that I need to tell Amicus that I'm using Kamian records to get a better context for Dastran history. Just not right now, with all the other crap going on. I think so. Either way, maybe you can try to address those problems. How do you usually get from one city to another? Well, through flight, of course. Can the Luxians afford that? No, most of them cannot. Most travel is done by automated chariots. Though from Lux, I believe you must travel on foot out of the mountains first. A frown. Aren't those chariots really slow? Well, they're twice that of walking speed. Thus, it would take about 2 weeks to travel from here to Adastran City. So, not terrible. How do they transport all the raw materials from the mining or the goods from the factories? Those are moved by foot and chariots to a major river, then placed on boats. Do people travel on the boats? No, the boats are only for transportation of goods and resources, and the river only connects to Tricelli. They refine the resources and distribute the goods to other cities. What are you going on about anyway? I'm trying to figure out how people get around on Dastra. From what I can tell, the main problem here is how isolated it is. On Earth, if a state wants to unify its people, it connects its people. That's usually done through roads, trains, aircraft, general public transport. It sounds like Adastra doesn't really have that. Ah, yes, well, we already have the roads, and they've served us well for thousands of years. And they only serve slow chariots. I'm not sure how the parents work, or if maybe you can ask Camille for help. Ask Camille for help? But high-speed transportation for the general public would probably be my first step. Amicus stares at me, and I shake my head. Sorry, I don't know much about what's possible, so I only sound crazy right now. Well, it's certainly not an easy or quick proposition, but it's something that can be looked into. I appreciate the idea, though one of the reasons we'll never persuade a better connection with Lux is because its people don't seem to want one. Well, maybe it's because they feel so isolated. Like, they're not part of Adastra. Over time, that could change. I suppose that could be the case. I'll ask some of the others about it. Maybe we could ask Magus, since he's coming along with us now? Oh yeah, Magus is coming along with us, because I'm not sure if we decided that, or since he won Purgu, that it's just the case that he's coming along, Amicus shifts, looking a bit embarrassed at the mention of the other wolf, and I feel bad bringing him up. Yes, that will likely be necessary. I'm tired of talking politics, and Amicus seems to be just be tired. So I get up and join him on his own couch, and he sets aside his wine to hold me close to him. I feel the hardness of his cape clasped against my head. Cape's clasp? Oh. And I help him pull the red fabric over his head, careful to set aside his golden crown first. It's slightly bent out of shape, I assume from the fight, but I don't mention it as he pulls me back against his body. I begin to gently rub his chest and stomach, run my hands over his thick pecs and down his padded stomach, which I'm sure is still aching. We're both already falling asleep, so I give him a light version of my usual rubdown, ooh-woo. I listen to his breathing and notice his pants crotch bulging just slightly, but I can tell he's just too tired for any serious action tonight. Thank you for speaking candidly with me, Dark. You always have fantastic insight. Thanks, you're doing a fantastic job as Emperor. Amicus looks at me in a way that tells me that made him a bit emotional. I rub my head against his chest, and before long, we're both drifting off to sleep. I mean, what does that mean? That maybe that's putting pressure on him, or that he likes it, but he's also trying to hide his emotions. Not sure. We're in time, halfway through. Okay. Amicus streams heavily that night, several different scenes flashing through his mind. One in which his father chides him for his loss against Magus. Another one in which Virginia is berating him for failing to unify Dastra. And finally, one where Dark stands in a large, cavernous room filled with other humans. Amicus can tell that Dark is distressed, looking unsure, hesitant, and Amicus wants to help him, but he's not able to speak because he isn't there. These dreams are typical, but the last one transitions into something that isn't a dream, something that Amicus is becoming more familiar with as the parents exert their influence more and more, is about Dark. Amicus startles awake, looking down to confirm Dark is there with him, feeling immense relief as he does, Then he hears what awoke him, a knocking sound on the door. Amicus pauses, then whispers at the ceiling. Yeah, I guess I'd have to assume these guys did have doors. Or like Romans had doors. Come? Yes, Amicus? Come whispers back, leaving Amicus grateful that amongst the expensive decor, they also installed a PA system. Who's at the door? Amicus is careful to keep his voice low as Dark shifts around against his body. Though he's mostly adjusted to Adastran hours, Dark still sleeps a bit longer than the average wolf, and Amicus has to assume it's because humans need it. The Pharaoh's second son, Neferu, and the Kameen ambassador to Adastra, Brunus. Amicus feels slightly annoyed, then moderately annoyed as knocking sounds again, this time a bit louder, making Dark stir once more. Gently, Amicus removes himself from the couch, keeping the human propped up before slowly laying him back against the cushions. Deciding to forgo his cape and crown for now, the wolf strides to the front door of the estate, pulling it open quickly. The rush of frigid air almost takes Amicus's breath away, after spending so much time in the climate-controlled villa. Amicus can tell immediately that something bad has happened, just by looking at Neferu's face. Despite his initial annoyance, Amicus feels a prickle of worry that it could have something to do with the delegation. What happened? Neferu stays quiet, on the verge of pouting. Amicus has never seen the jackal sulk in such a way. It's Brunus who finally speaks for him, which is clear that Neferu is going to. Well, we were just out getting breakfast when we were, harassed, I guess. Amicus clenches his jaw slightly for a second. And? Well, they started pelting Neferu here with, I don't know, fruit? Or vegetables? Or something? Amicus bites his tongue to hold back from cursing. What about the curfew? It came from the windows, went back to our flat, but then some of them did start coming out. Start coming out? And formed a crowd at her door, demanding we hand over Neferu. Okay, I'm gonna print that so I can be like, hey, that might not seem correct. I mean, I think start's not right. Maybe. Not sure. I like, helping people hair check games and stuff. How's my face, anyways? Yeah. Amicus closes his eyes, leaning against the door frame, easily able to picture the scene. Jones came in and stunned most of them. Then we're told it'd be best for Neferu not to stay in the city. Damn it. Amicus squeezes his eyes shut, hoping that somehow word hasn't spread of the incident. Do not worry yourself. They seemed satisfied enough. When I was escorted from the city, there was no further issues, from what I was able to tell. Yeah, it was real isolated. Was enough to get a big crowd going. Still, Amicus knows the optics are not good. Amicus turns his attention to Neferu, seeing that the jackal is trembling ever so slightly under his tensed-up muscles. Are you injured? No. I mean, they nailed you pretty good in the head a few times, even if it was just rotten fruit. I am fine. Neferu's tone is flat and slightly dark, and Amicus can tell that the jackal would like to not be visible at the moment. The wolf knows the feeling quite well himself. Alright, well, you're welcome to stay here. There's a spare room towards the back of the villa. What about you, Brunus? Yeah, I'll probably be sharing that room with Nerf, but I'll go back first to get our stuff. Is it safe? Bjarni is getting it, but I'll meet him halfway since he wants to know a bit more about what happened. it's quite clear to Amicus that Brunus wants to give Neferu time alone to sulk. Well, alright. Let me know if there are any other issues arise, and I shall deal with them. Of course, Your Majesty. Brunus bows as he backs away, muttering a "see you later, Nerf," as he does. Yes, see ya. Amicus stands before Neferu, the jackal's stiff posture, making the wolf even the wolf feel awkward. While there are many things about Neferu that irritate Amicus, he at least can admit that the chameleon has a knack for making things not awkward. It's slightly unsettling. Amicus clears his throat and steps aside, indicating Neferu should enter. So, do you wish to speak more on the matter? No. Well, the room's right over there. Amicus gestures at the doorway, visible from the villa entrance. Thank you. Apologize again for bringing complications to... Never mind that. Go get settled. Why, of course, Your Majesty. Neferu's voice is slightly mocking in response to Amicus' more commanding tone. The turn of Neferu's irritating, cheeky nature, brief as it may be, is enough to put Amicus at ease. That, whatever happened, Neferu will get over it. Now he just has to worry about whether or not Lux will get over it. Well, you have to take the place to yourself for the morning. You'll have to take the place to yourself. Dark and I are going out. Have to take the place to yourself? I don't even know what that means. Might just take another snip of that too, you know? Just raisins. Beep. And how's my face? Terrible. Not into the city, I assume. Of course not, especially after what happened. It's a private outing. Enjoy yourselves then. Amicus watches the jackal go, letting out a long exhale of breath, which reflects his feeling of being deflated. Sapiens like Neferu, the ones that rarely admit to what they are feeling, to what they are thinking, are frustrating to the wolf. Well, I don't know. Yes, he does, rarely... He does hide a bunch of things, but it's like, isn't Wolf's entire thing, being complicated and vague and all that stuff? Politics, the like. So much for chameleon bluntness. Yeah. Well, he tolerates Neferu's behavior at Dastard City, or at least only mildly annoyed by it. It's a different issue out here in these less populated centers. The wolf feels his insides turn with an anxiety, wishing he prepared better for this mission. He rubs his stomach, still sore from yesterday's Pergu match. He'd have to call a meeting later today, so he can start keeping tabs on everyone. For now, he needs to take Dark to the hot spring, like he promised. Hot spring episode. I hold on to Amicus's paw as we make our way up to the side of a mountain. And I thought I was unprepared yesterday. My sandals threatened to slip out with every step, and after I stub my toe on one of the rocks, Amicus just picks me up. Here's the thing, I bought sandals when I went to Mexico, like recently-ish, and when I went there, they immediately broke as I pulled them out of the suitcase, like, crud, go get a new one. And my family suggested the bigger ones. I wore them twice, because maybe just me, but like, when I would walk, the sandals would always slip forward, so you'd kind of have to put your foot forward, and then you have to slide your foot into it, or use your toes to grasp onto the little strap. Because it was like, strap on one side, the other. Should have gone for the smaller one. I don't mind at all, especially since no one's around to see it. How do you humans get around? Is Earth a perfect sphere with no geological features? Well, I keep my arms wrapped firmly around Amicus's neck as he piggybacks me up the rugged and uneven climb. If it were just for the right way, with the right kind of shoes, this would be less of a problem. Well, I hope you bring all those things with you when you return. I'll make a mental note to do that. That'd be something that'd be absolutely fascinating. Be like, if he could bring like Adastran stuff to Earth, I'd be a bit worried about that though. And then bring Earth stuff to Adastra. Like, here is the pizza. This is what you do. Now, I guess for those things, you could just, bring videos for that. Because it is like an hour-long journey and whatnot. Or pictures. And then, I guess you might want to bring the ingredients if you can keep them refrigerated. But then, like, bring shoes or bring a laptop or something like that, While the command drone continues to keep me warm, Amicus's warmth is much more welcoming, and I press my face up against the back of his neck. The wolf trudges along in the foggy silence for a while, and I'm just content to lose myself in the hypnotic bouncing woo. After a while, I start to recognize the sulfuric smell that reminds me of the baths back at the palace. Shouldn't be long now. Hot springs are the main draw for tourism in this region. Most artificial baths are modeled after the composition of Luxon Springs. It's healing for the body and the mind. Well, I can't wait. I've never really believed in the supposed ability of Adastran mineral water to heal physical ailments, but I can't argue with the mental part. After Amicus told me about what happened in Neferu, I wanted to invite him to go with us, but I didn't think that either of my canine friends would have wanted that. So no, Amicus wouldn't, but is there another person with us? Or are you talking about Neferu wouldn't want to come along? Maybe. Soon enough, I start to see the clouds of steam, and eventually the pathway leads to a scenic outlook, one with crystal clear spring right in the middle of it. I think that might be a good time to call it, because there might be an episode where there's naked time. If I remember. So anyways, man of this, let's play. Sorry, for makes me on. Anyways, please comment, cause I like comments, say what you like, dislike, tips, tricks, otherwise if you like my YouTube and would like to see it grow, then please like, subscribe, and check out the videos that would grow, and please remember to spay your animals have control of the pet population. And until next time, let's play me, GamerWolfSix of Adastra. See ya. Oh, and if you want to play it, HIO, or if you want to support them, Patreon.